Hi, everybody. This is Randy England. Jesus in the Gospels is known for his love of others. He taught the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love your neighbor as yourself. But a lawyer once asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" Jesus responded with the parable about a traveler on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. He was ambushed by bandits, stripped, robbed, and left half dead by the roadside. After a priest and a Levite saw the beaten man and passed on, a foreigner, a Samaritan on his journey, saw the man and was moved with compassion. The Samaritan did two things. First, he treated and bandaged the traveler's wounds himself. He set the man on his own horse and took him to an inn and took care of him there. Clearly, this is the heart of Christian charity, that is, to see a need and to act directly to meet it. And yet he is not finished. The next day, the Samaritan, when he had to go on his way, gave the innkeeper money to care for the man and to see him healed, and he promised to pay any additional expenses if needed. Now, we're not told whether the Samaritan was in the habit of rendering such kindnesses, but the traveler's misfortune tested the Samaritan's virtue, and passing the test made a good man a better man. As for the injured traveler, well, his gratitude at the Samaritan's kindness is pretty much a given. Even the innkeeper must have been moved by the example. Now, today the parable can be retold with the taxpayer cast in the role of the Good Samaritan. Imagine there's this poor fellow coming out of a convenience store. He, too, is set upon by hoodlums in the parking lot. He refuses to give up his money and ends up beaten, robbed, and left bleeding in a ditch. Afterwards, several people pass by and see the beaten man, but they go on their way. Then another man, a good taxpayer, stops into the store. He has also had a bad day, coming from a tax audit in which the government wanted the same thing from him as the robbers wanted of the injured traveler, his money. Knowing the government also has guns, he had wisely given up the money with a shrug. The good taxpayer comes out of the store with his liquor and cigs, and he sees the beaten traveler. His conscience reminds him of a slogan, "If you see something, say something." Knowing that the government handles such matters, he is moved to pull out his cell phone and call for the government paramedics. He knows they will give the beaten traveler some Obamacare, and perhaps afterward a lawyer can get him a government disability check. The good taxpayer does his duty and goes home to his family. Now, in each case, we might say the result was the same. Both travelers received the care they needed, yet how much has been lost? Let's start with the good taxpayer. Now, he's no good Samaritan. His direct aid consisted of a phone call. His contribution as a taxpayer, grudgingly paid under a threat of governmental force, was not virtuous, but mere self-preservation. He feels little duty to help the stranger. Charity is the government's job. It makes it easy and natural to turn away and leave charity to the government. Government has destroyed whatever capacity he had to love his neighbor. And even if he felt the duty to charity, the government taxation has drained away the surplus from which he might otherwise help. In the end, he has no connection to the injured man. After being shaken down by the taxman, his feelings run more to resentment than to compassion. The injured man, likewise, does not know his benefactor. If he thinks about it at all, his gratitude is considerably undermined by the fact that the funds that help him today were taken from the donors by force yesterday. The welfare system denies him the opportunity to appreciate the help or to reciprocate in any way. He may even feel entitled. And finally, remember that this modern parable replaces the Good Samaritan with both taxpayers and with government agents and their hirelings. The police, paramedics, and doctors are all doing their jobs, mostly paid through government funds. And what of the taxman, the bureaucrat, and the congressman? In this parable, they are the second set of thieves. They rob the taxpayer first, then before they give the loot to the injured man, they take their cut. Thus the welfare state multiplies both the number of victims and the number of robbers. In the letter of James we read, "If a brother or sister is ill-clad and in lack of daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, be warmed and filled,' without giving them the things needed for the body, what does it profit?" The modern state makes it thoughtlessly easy for us to ignore the needy, for we can always dismiss them, saying, "Go to the government, be warmed and filled." The state enshrines and perpetuates poverty by making itself indispensable to the poor, thereby subjugating them forever. Charity may be a social duty, but it is quickly diluted when individuals in need are seen as a social problem. Responsibility for doing charitable acts is not our responsibility. It is not society's responsibility. Who bears responsibility for my neighbor? I do. This is Randy, England. Thanks for listening.